everybody, and welcome back. Today we're going to do some city building. That's right, in a new state-of-the-art city that's completely green, and it's called, that's right, Ginkgopolis. And it's got nice art. Let's have a look. Hello and welcome to the How to Play Ginkgopolis. We're going to go through it starting with the setup. First, you're going to randomly place the 9 starting buildings. Each one of these buildings is going to have a 1, a 2, or a 3 on them. And you're going to randomly place the 3 different colors. So there's blue, which represents the tiles. Red, which represents resources, and yellow, which represents victory points. You're also going to place out these urbanization circles, starting with A, B, C, in alphabetical order around the board. There are a lot more building tiles in the game. The rest of the building tiles you are going to shuffle and make 4 piles. In 2 to 3 player game, you are going to remove 6 of these tiles out of the game. These are construction indicators, and they will allow us to remember to put more cards into the game. These are victory points. Next, you're going to take the urbanization cards within the game. These represent the circles on the game board. For instance, there will be a card from A to L. You also have a starting player card. There will be 9 cards, a card for each of these buildings. You will take those 9 cards from the appropriate red, blue, or yellow stacks and add them to the pile here, and then shuffle this pile. Okay, so we'll get that started. The rest of the cards that represent the tiles will be placed into 3 piles and in descending order. So from 4, since 3, 2, and 1 are already shuffled into the pile, the other pile, the play pile, these will be here for adding into the game at a later date. Each person has a screen that comes with their game, and also supply tokens. These represent the materials that we use to build buildings with. They stay in front of your shield right now. Also, there are 2 tiles that everybody gets that represents taking the cards in your hand, discarding them, and picking up 4 new cards into your hand. You get 2 of these. At the end of the game, they are worth victory points if you do not use them. An important note with the resources that each player gets in his color, or her color, is that they are a limited resource. In a 2-player game, you will use 25 resources. In a 3-player game, you will use 20 resources. In a 4-player game, you will use 18 resources. And finally, in a 5-player game, you will use 16 resources. Also, each player will draft 3 cards from the box representing the materials and the special abilities they will get at the beginning of the game. So I am playing black, and I will get 1, 2, 3, 4 resources. I will also get 1, 2 victory points and 1 tile from the supply. I will take my 3 resources and put them behind my screen. I will take my tile and put it behind my screen and reveal what I got. Nice high number, a resource tile. And I also get 2 victory points. So, 1, and I'll grab another one. So there you go. That is what I am starting out with at the beginning of the game, corresponding to my starting player cards. Also, you will notice there's these abilities here. We will go through those. Each player, the 4 players we're playing with, will get cards to randomly choose the starting player, which will be me. Not very random. Okay, so when the game starts, everybody will be dealt 4 cards from the supply, and then you get to choose one action to do with these cards. There are 3 actions. You can exploit one of these cards. You can urbanize with one of these types of cards with the circles on them. Or you can construct a building on a tile represented by these cards that have the numbers on them. These cards have letters on them. Let's look at exploiting a card. So when you exploit a card, you're going to choose one of these, and you will exploit it. So if I exploit this card, I will get the resources that it indicates. So if you exploit an urbanization card, you will get 1 supply from in front of your screen and put it behind your screen. Or you can get a tile from the tile supply and put that behind your screen. So using this card, how you would do it is simultaneously everybody would choose this, put it in front of them, and then flip it over and say, yes, I'm going to exploit this card. To exploit any of these cards will exploit the tile that it represents. So this card represents this tile right here. This card represents this tile with the 3 on it. And the 2 obviously represents this one. So when you exploit one of these cards, you will look at its corresponding tile, for instance, this one, and you will see how high it is, and you will get those resources. So for instance, when you activate this tile with this card, you will get 1 resource, because this is a resource tile. For instance, if you exploited this tile over here, you would get 1 victory point. Okay, so we changed things up here. If you exploit this card with this number, here we go here, you would get 2 resources because this building is has 2 floors. Here's another example. When you exploit this card, you would get 2 tiles from the tile supply, 1, 2, because this building has 2 floors. And this would also work with the victory points if this was, 3 high or had 3 tiles on it, and you had that particular card, you could utilize it or exploit it for 3 victory points. So the last thing you'll do when you exploit one of these cards, let's say it was this one, and you put it up and you exploited this and got this reward or this, then you would discard it into the discard pile. Then you would look at if you have in your display any exploit actions and get the benefit from the bonus. So right here, you can see there's this indicates exploit. So when I exploit at any time, I'll get 1 extra supply. So in this case, if you exploited, you would get 1 extra supply, another extra supply, and a victory point, and another supply. So you get 3 and a victory point. And here's the victory point. The next thing we're going to do is to urbanize. So obviously, urbanizing is with this symbol, so we cannot urbanize with this, we cannot urbanize with this, or cannot urbanize with that. So to urbanize, you're once again going to flip it up saying that's my card, and in the count of 3 you're going to reveal. Everybody will see that you're going to urbanize, and I can urbanize now on I. And this is how it works. I can take a tile, which I only have 1 at the present moment, so I will have to use this. But that's okay, because what we want to be doing is to be making districts. So red with red is a fairly good thing. And I also need to have some materials to build with. And since it's going to be a level 2, I'm going to just need 2. No, I'm going to need 1. It's a level 1. That's right. And I'm going to place it where I is. Then I am going to move I here or here. It's up to me. Now, in later, as time goes on, you might have a couple more selections. The big rule is that I has to stay between H and J when you move it. Okay, so I'm going to move it there. So on a later turn, anybody that does urbanization with I will have to build there instead of here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what building it is adjacent to, not diagonally, just orthogonally, if that's a word. And it will activate, and I will get whatever it produces. So for in this case, this building produces resources. It is a level 1 building, so I will get 1 resource. I will take that resource and put it behind my screen. Okay, so in this example, things have changed just a little bit. So I'm going to play my same card. It's going to be I. I'm going to take my tile and the resource to build it. I will place my building on I, and I'll place it to the same area. I'll put my resource to say I built it. Then I'm going to see what I get. Well, this is a level 2, so you can see level 2, which means I will get 2 resources. And here, this is level 1, so I will get 1 victory point. So I will get 2 of these and 1 victory point, and I will put those behind my screen. Because we built here, we will also indicate that we built here by placing one of these building tokens. And what this represents is this building or this floor was built this round. And we need to get the card that represents this tile out of the 3 decks the next round. So this won't happen right away, but we will keep those until this deck gets exhausted, which is going to happen soon. And these cards that represent these tiles will then enter the game, which means we will be able to build on top of them or utilize them or activate them. So that's very important to remember, to put one of these on every building that you build or every floor that you build. Okay, so once you're done that, you're going to look at the cards that you have in front of you in your player area that are visible to everybody. And you're going to see if you have a card like this that says, when urbanizing, you get something. So once again, this special person or ability says, every time you urbanize, you get another tile. So we're going to get another tile. And put it behind our screen. We'll reveal it. 13, that's a good one. And finally, we take the card that we urbanized, right? And now we put it in the discard pile. Right there. Okay, so the last thing that you're going to do, other than exploiting one of these cards, or urbanizing with one of these type of cards, is to build a new floor. And you'll be able to do it with any card that kind of looks like that in the 3 different colors. So you will look at the number and you will be able to build a new floor on this particular card. So once again, we can build on number 2, or the number 3 tile, red, or in our case, the number 2 yellow tile. So we're going to look behind our screen, and this time we've got 13. So if we built on a red or a blue with this building, we put built on top of it, it would cost us a little extra. So right now I just want to stick with the yellow. So I'm going to say I'm going to utilize this card, and I'm going to build this tile on it. So on the count of 3, everybody reveals, puts it out, and then reveals. And obviously people can see that I'm going to be building this turn. And I reveal, and it's going to be on 2. And I'm going to be building this on it. So on my turn, I will place this on the 2 spot. So I place it here. Because it's a level 2 building, I'll have to place 2 materials. And because I need one of these to mark that the number 13 card in yellow has to come out. So that's important. Okay, so let's look at this example. This example, we actually have the 11 card here, and we want to build on this 11. But there's somebody already there. The purple player is there, so that's fine. What we're going to do is flip this card over, reveal it, reveal that we are going to use this, which is, we want it to make sure it's higher. Now you can play lower numbered on a different, on a tile that is higher, but it's going to cost you. We're going to talk about that in a second. So when I place this, this person gets knocked out. This goes behind purple's screen, behind it. So she can use that resource again. My resources go on top, right, to indicate that I built it, and also a building token so that we make sure that the next round, when this gets depleted, we have the 13 card coming from this supply deck here into the game. Also, because we removed one resource from purple, purple also gets 1 victory point because we took it away. If we removed 2 and it was a level 2 building, we would give her 2. If it was a level 3, we would give her 3, and so on. Okay, so let's say that I did want to build a building, but instead of placing it here on the 11 building, I want to place it on this 2 building. For whatever reason, you can do that though. And this is what's going to happen. I will play this card, flip it over on the count of 3, say this is where I'm building, and I'm building this card, and I can place it right here, put my 2 resources on it, and the mandatory token to indicate that the number 13 card will have to enter the game in the next round when this gets depleted. Then I'm going to have to pay 1 extra resource from behind my screen, and not on this card, but just to in front of my screen, the discard, the supply to indicate that I have switched colors. It was red, and now I've changed it to yellow. Okay, and in actual fact, this would be good for me because now I've made a district, which we'll talk about soon, that is actually larger. So that's nice. Okay, so this time around, we've got our 13 building, which is the 13 representing this building here. But we have a building, same color, that's fine. Different color, no, we would just have to pay an extra resource, that's okay. But this time, it's a smaller number. So, this is a little different. If I decide to utilize this card, I'll, pick it up, place it over here, flip it over, say this is the building I'm going to be building, and then I'll be able to place it, put my 2 resources because it is a level 2 building, place my worker, my construction token here, and then I will have to pay the difference in the number of victory points. So this will be 13, which means that I will have to pay 2 victory points. So I make sure that I have this beforehand, or I'm in trouble. I won't be able to do the action. And I will put that into the supply, and I will lose 2 victory points. Finally, we're going to look at our display here and see if there's any character that allows us to get something for building a new floor. And we do. It's right here. This is the symbol for building a floor. And when we build another floor, we get another tile. So we go over to the stack of them and we get, oh, that should be flipped over. We get one more, and it is a blue 14. And then this is the interesting thing. The other cards went to the discard pile. This one does not. This one now goes into our display here. And what this will represent is, I think it means for every yellow building that we have an influence on that belongs to us, we will get 1 victory point at the end of the game. Okay, so this one, let's say if we built on top of the 2, like we described, instead of using this building, we would get, every time you urbanize, you get another worker. And we've already got one of these, so we would put it like that. So now every time we urbanize, I would get another supply, and I would also get another tile. And if I played this in a later turn, I would, oh, well, this is for upgrading. So it would look like this. Every time I built or upgraded a building or put a new floor on a building, I would get a resource and a new tile. Okay, so once my turn ends, I take the 3 cards that I have left and the starting player, and I hand it to the person on my right. The next person on my left hands me 3 cards that he had, and these are now my cards. I pick up a new card from the deck, which is over here, and I draw a new one, add it to my hand, and this is now my new hand. Okay, so when this deck finally runs out and it goes to the next player's turn and one of us cannot draw a 4th card, the round stops. And we take the discard pile and we shuffle them with some new cards. And the new cards that we're going to get is indicated by the board. So here we are at the end of the first round. We can see the cards that need to enter the game. So we need 11, we need 13, we need the 14 blue, we need the 12, red 5, the 7 red, and the 18 red. And that's it. So we'll get those cards. Okay, so these are the cards that are entering the game for the new round. Because of this. So I've got them all now, so I can take these off the Da 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 da. And da da. Okay. So there we go. We're ready to go. We take these cards, we put them into the discard pile, and now we shuffle this deck. Nice and we shuffle it, and that's the new deck for the game. And you notice that there will be any cards that we used to build a floor with. They are now in people's hands, so they are not available to use. So for instance, the red 2 would be right there. The yellow 2 was right there, and so on. Okay? At any time, if this pile of tiles ever gets exhausted, we have one chance to take any tiles that we have behind our screen and put them back into the supply. For each one that we put back, we get 1 victory point for doing so. That happens once. If this exhausts again, the game is over. Also, if the player exhausts all his supplies from behind his screen and in front of it, and he doesn't have any more, the game ends. Everybody has one more turn, and then the game is over. So then the each player counts up the victory points he's collected during the game. If he has these 2, each one of these is worth 2 victory points at the end of the game if he hasn't used them. He counts up his cards that relate to game bonuses, so typically the yellow ones, are always the yellow ones. For every material he has 2 or less, he'll get a victory point. For every 3 resources or more, he'll get 3 victory points. For every supply he has in a blue city, he'll get a victory point. And for every supply material he has on a yellow city, he will get a victory point. And then we go to scoring the actual city. Okay, so victory points at the end of the game come down to districts. A district is any connecting city area that is not diagonal and of the same color. So for instance, this district, blue, and this is one district. This is not part of the district because it is on a diagonal. Then we count up the various supplies. So I would have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And the only other player here would be purple, which is 4. So I would get the majority and she would get the second place, and there is no third or fourth place because there's nobody here. So I would get the total number of supplies. So I would get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then purple would just get points for her area, so which would be 4 points for her. Now, if there was another person in this district, that person wouldn't get anything. So let's move on to the next district that maybe, hopefully, we have a couple more people in. Okay, so here's the red district, and we have wood, green, and purple. Now, who has the most? It's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is a tie. Now, because there is a tie here, we look at the building that is the highest. Purple has the highest building, so the purple is the winner. So purple would get now all the points within this district. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then green would get 4 points for his colors, and the wood color would get no points at all. Okay, and let's do one more last example. Here we are with wood has 1, 2, 3, 4. Black has 2. Purple has 1. Therefore, the wood color will win, and we'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. and then black would get 2 points. In this particular case, black has one district that he is a part of and only a part of. There is 2 connecting. So black would get, let's say actually it looked like this. This would look a little bit better. Black would be the majority and would get both bonuses. So he would get 1, 2, 3, which is all 3, and then he would get his own color, which is 1, 2, 3, which means that he would get 6 points. Areas that have 1, like this, are not a district because there are only 1 tile and they are not scored. And finally, the person with the most victory points is the winner and the best builder in Ginkgopolis, the great futuristic city. And now we're going to look at the expansion. Stay tuned for the supplementary video, Ginkgopolis, the Experts, the expansion.